Hello, hello. Happy Aries New Moon. It is a Jupiter night. So on the Gregorian calendar, it is Friday. And it is a Venus hour. So yeah, it's been a little while. The energies are definitely picking up. So feeling a lot more motivated to put myself out there. And it is Aries season. We're coming to the closing of it. It's already the 16th. The new moon is on the 17th at 4:51 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and Taurus season begins on the 19th of April. Aries season has flown by, but it's actually the beginning of the new year and the ending of the previous 2025 lunar year, because when the sun and moon come together in Aries, that's the beginning of a brand new energetic cycle. And so we are in the midst of saying goodbye, closing out these old situations, relationships. Could vary across the board, but there's definitely an ending that we are all feeling. And there's a quote actually that I wanted to share that I feel like really speaks to this time right now. And it's by RUMI. Half of life is lost in charming others. The other half is lost in going through anxieties caused by others. Leave this play, you have played enough. And with Aries is all about independence and doing things your own way without waiting for anybody. It's very impulsive and instinctive. And that's kind of where we are, while also letting go of and grieving, somewhat coming to the realization that these endings are coming to like an end, and like we are not going back. And there's a lot of signatures that speak to this like grieving, disillusionment. So I wanted to mention that. And yeah, if there has been this feeling of urgency and uncertainty, that's Neptune. Neptune is very nebulous and very foggy, and it's in the sign of Aries now. It just entered Aries back in, was that February, end of January? And in the sign of Aries, there's like the vision and the impetus to go forward and, start new things, but it's got this kind of slower pace where it's dissolving any rush. There's the Aries tendency to shoot from the hip or be impulsive and just go for it. But with Neptune, it's kind of like coming out of the pool with your clothes all wet. It's kind of that heavy, watered down, bogged down feeling. And so we're still going slow and making our way through this new era. And I mean, with the end of Pisces season, that is a huge, like, significant end of an era. Like, it's not just the end of Pisces season. It's not just the end of last year. It's the end of a major era that we are leaving, which includes a lot of belief systems, old belief systems that are proving to be more harmful to us, to our spirit, from a larger scale, the big picture. And now we are coming into this blank slate, and it's a brand spanking new energy. We haven't been in this energy in thousands of years, because along with Neptune is Saturn. Saturn and Neptune both together in the sign of Aries hasn't happened in 6,000 plus years. And so that was a whole other civilization, if not multiple civilizations ago. And so Andre Barbeau, who is a French astrologer, he passed away, but he predicted the 2020 lockdown. And he saw that coming with the conjunction of Pluto and Saturn. And so, or Saturn and Pluto, I should say. And so that was the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto in 2020. And now Saturn has separated from Pluto, and it's in a compatible, cooperative conversation with Pluto. So now Pluto is in Aquarius at 5 degrees, and Saturn is at 5 degrees in Aries, and air and fire get along. So Aries, Saturn and Aries, and Pluto and Aquarius are starting to work together and cooperate and really commit to these transformations, these changes. And Pluto in the sign of Aquarius is all about change and improving life. It's a very utopian kind of sign. And with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, it can bring up a lot of unsavory realities that need to be composted. We can see it all around us with, those Epstein files. And now there's some other academy of, I don't know, like 62 million men have visited this site to learn how to basically grape their wives or girlfriends. And whether it is, like a real academy or not. I personally feel like it's another strategy to get us riled up and pull us down, because it was only created or published in March, so a month ago. And in this current climate, maybe I just have too much faith in humanity, but I feel like another strategy to get us out of our community, heart-centered space. And, that's another signature of Pluto and Aquarius, like using the internet, the power of media to spread this chaos. And I mean, Pluto is also chaos. And so Saturn in Aries, we are using our discernment, and Saturn is all about the warrior and standing up for what is right. And then Saturn is, discipline and prudence and discernment. So we have this opportunity to use discernment with what is coming through our eyes, what we are taking in visually. Aries rules the eyes, or like anything on the face. And so when we take in this information, we have to really kind of slow down and make sure that what we're seeing is beneficial to our energy. And then, like, if it is even true, like, is it kind of like maybe a false flag? Who's to say? But now with this sextile, this cooperative conversation between Saturn and Pluto, we have that going on, which involves a lot of go-getter kind of pioneering energy, where, Aries is all about trial and error, just trying things out, seeing what sticks, going on these adventures. And so this is a lot of energy in Aries right now. We have 8 celestial bodies, and so we have all the personal planets, and this is meant to empower us. This is a time right now where the uncertainty and the sense of urgency can leave us feeling like imposters. So that imposter syndrome is very real. But if we keep the big picture in mind and keep the faith and just, keep the focus and vision on how we want our futures to look like and how we can co-create consciously to build a new civilization. And one of the things that Andre Barbeau predicted about this year, particularly 2026, is the splendid relaunch of civilization. And that involves Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and Uranus in Gemini. Uranus is about to enter Gemini on the 26th. Right now it is at 29 degrees Taurus, which is an intense degree. It's like extreme changes, extreme. Uranus is the planet of shocks and surprises. And that's what we are getting right now. So we have to really use our grounding techniques, like stay grounded. It can be easy to react, but if we get into the routine of taking the time to really sit with whatever we are going through, or sit with the information that is presented to us, so that we don't absorb it, so we observe it rather, then we can regulate ourselves, like self-regulate our nervous system. Because when Uranus moves into Gemini, it's going to really speed things up. And that's on all levels, including our physiological responses. So it's important to stay grounded and stay centered, stay hydrated. But with all of the Aries planets, so we have the sun, of course. So the new moon is at 27 degrees Aries, which means the sun and the moon are at 27 degrees. They're together in the sign of Aries. And Chiron, the wounded healer, is right behind it, 26 degrees. And Eris and Chiron's a centaur. And so these two speak to our wounds and our insecurities. And Eris is considered to be the goddess of strife and discord traditionally. But what she does is really call out the realities of the situation and holds people accountable. And people don't like it when you hold people accountable for what they say or their actions. And so Chiron, being the wounded healer, in the sign of Aries, it's all about our identity. Chiron has been in Aries since 2018. So that has to do with our place in the world, like our identity, how we assert our will. Like this is the struggle between, having our pronouns used, or, claiming our pronouns or a title, or, we have this wounding around who we think we are. And with Eris Eris has been in Aries, the goddess of strife and discord. And Eris is in the sign of Aries. Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. And she's been in Aries for, I think, since 1930s, I want to say. And the two of them together Aries is at 25 degrees, Chiron is at 26. They are a signature of working together to heal a feminine and the masculine, authenticity, autonomy, and identity. And so these two, we can feel it in the air too, where the masculine wounds are coming up to the surface. And I feel like there's also a signature of Mars having passed through Neptune, Mars being, the ruler of Aries and representative of the masculine side. And so going through the portal of Neptune, I feel like that's really coming into community with other masculine energies and bringing to the surface what has not been healed. And so when that masculine energy connects with others in a vulnerable way, there is a healing that takes place. And I've been picking up on that through, what's been shared on Instagram and through friends, and just realizing and seeing how it really has been passed down through lineages. And as we heal, like Neptune is going to be in Aries for the next 14 years. And so as each planet goes through Aries, passes through Neptune, then it's like another wave of healing, another layer of balm that helps to heal the wound, which part of that process is like softening the edges of Aries, or softening the edges of that masculine tendency of aggression and colonialism, and like the urge or the entitlement of owning something or someone. In the case of that academy, it was this underlying theme of how husbandry has given men the right to do whatever they want to their spouse, to their wife, because they own their wife. The marriage is considered in some cultures to be ownership of the wife. And so letting go of that belief, like eroding that belief of egoic, patriarchal, colonial entitlement, which goes hand in hand with capitalism and colonialism, just like taking over, taking what you want, pillaging whatever it is that you desire, whether it's land or a woman's body or, whatever it might be. Like you can see it in, lawless streets where the very aggro boy is destroying everything in its sight, like knocking mailboxes over, whatever the case may be, throwing, trash cans upside down. Like that happens more than it should, especially in San Francisco. So the presence of Neptune is a godsend, like it's a silver lining, and it's what's needed. Otherwise, the universe wouldn't be orchestrating these energies in this way. And then with Saturn also there for the next 2 years, Saturn puts the brakes on Aries, impetus to speed. There is discipline and accountability with Saturn that is being called for. So as these planets, so Mars is getting ready to meet up with Saturn exact on the 19th at 7 degrees. And so this is kind of, people will call this a very challenging energy to experience, and it can, and Mercury will be in the mix as well. So Mercury, Mars, and Saturn will be at 7 degrees Aries on the 19th, between the 19th and 20th. And so this is very assertive energy. Saturn is connected to struggle and commitment, and Mars is related to like endurance. I mean, Saturn is more endurance, and then Mars is like the will and ambition to pursue whatever it is, like victory. And then Mercury in the mix is and making that announcement, like using that solar plexus energy to really get what you want. But at the same time, it's gone through the energies of Neptune, which gives it that flavor of spiritual alignment. So there is a bigger picture to these pursuits. It's not just, we're all out for ourselves. This is a larger intention that serves the collective. And this is also expressed through the warehouse fires that have been happening over the past week or so, when I think the the quote that's been circulating is, using Smokey the Bear as the iconic symbol of fires, but using the quote, "Only livable wages prevent warehouse fires." And I mean, that's, speaking to a larger audience. We can all relate, those of us who are in that middle to lower class who have worked these wage jobs. And that's, sending a message to a whole other group of people who have been suppressed, like who feel that pain. And so going through this Neptune portal, like this message, this action, this commitment to defend the people is coming through. And then Eris in the mix, like Eris is standing up for those who have been like the distortions of the situation. The original mythology of Eris is being not invited to a wedding. And she throws the golden apple into the wedding party with the words to the fairest. And then three of the maidens, or what was it, Aphrodite? Gosh, who were the other two? There were three goddesses who fought over who was going to be the fairest. And so it just kind of exposed the vanity of these three goddesses. And it led to the Trojan War because there was some kind of betrayal between like the husband of one of the goddesses and another man. So that started the Trojan War. But Eris takes the blame. She gets credit for starting the Trojan War when she was just calling out. She was just calling out the true colors of this party. And so this mix, this whole Aries train, this insane concentration of Aries energy is powerful. Like this is something that's going to start a new sacred saga in our lifetime. And so we're really laying the groundwork for things to completely change. This is a whole new era. And with the new moon, rather than it being like reckless abandonment with the presence of Neptune and Saturn, it's a little less reckless. There's some discernment involved. So, and sincerity, like genuine sincerity. So it is a commitment to ourselves to not go back to what we were doing before that was not encouraging or fulfilling to our soul. And we're making the commitment not to go back to that. And so as we move through the rest of Aries and into Taurus next week, we're becoming more honest with what we deserve for ourselves, because Taurus is all about self-worth. And to build that stability, we have to build it with new identities that we align with people that we align with, like on a soul level. So right now we're in that moment where we're realizing that we're not bound to the metrics, the numbers, the false timelines. Like we have all this time to enjoy life. There's not like markers that we have to stick to. Like we have to get married at 30 or before, back in my day, it was like 25 or 27 was the age to get married, and then have a baby before 30. And then, all of these markers, we're beyond that now. Those were constructs and designed to keep us in survival mode. But now those misalignments have done their job. They've stripped back the illusion little by little, very subtly, and what's left is hard to ignore. Like health is wealth, freedom is luxury, access to nature is the true abundance. And then, everything else feels questionable because staying tethered to a number, a salary, a threshold, it starts to feel less like safety and more like confinement. And collectively, we're seeing it. It's the imbalance. It's not subtle anymore between the rich and the poor. We're transitioning out of this like polarity, and this is where things are shifting. So with Saturn, Neptune, it's been since the mid 1800s since they met in the sign of Aries. I mean, not exactly at 0 degrees, but they were together in the sign of Aries. And that was when there was a lot of, so much was coming up in the mid 1800s. That was during the Salem witch trials. There was so much religious pushback, and people didn't play it safe. There was risk. There was spiritual risk, like defying spiritual authorities, and most of all, individuation. And that's one of the things that we could be experiencing in our daily lives, where we make these decisions for ourselves, where, on a normal day, others may have sacrificed their time or their energy or even their health for the sake of not letting the other person feel bad. This happens. One example is like if you quit smoking, you're no longer going outside with your buddies. You kind of miss out on that unofficial, off the record conversation. But at the same time, you're saving your lungs, you're saving your health. And those people can maybe be offended or like feel ashamed. There could be some kind of emotions stirring within both of you where, you got to look out for yourself, and the other person has to understand, like, they're just looking out for themselves. Like it can also turn into a shame spiral where, they're the ones that are still smoking, and, it can go in a lot of different directions depending on each person. Ideally, the person who has quit would be a source of inspiration and, the person smoking would find something else to do on their break, just like go outside, sure. But instead of smoking and polluting the air, maybe just take your shoes off and, put them in the grass for a little while. So there is that risk of isolation, solitude. And this is a period where we're doing our thing. Like we are making those decisions for ourselves to better ourselves and not overly concerning ourselves with how it appears or how it might affect others. So that's an energy to kind of get used to as well. Individuation is what is being called for right now. And that's going to take a lot of getting used to. Like, can be confusing. Like these shifts in decisions can be off-putting, but a lot of grace is really needed right now to understand one another and know that there's no offense that needs to be taken. Like everything is for the betterment for each of us, for all of us. But then also at the same time, there can be that level of challenging authority, and people in, those positions can be the most sensitive to defiance. So that's what we're also seeing right now on a larger scale. And it's definitely called for during these times. But we are all expanding. We're all expanding in one way or another. And there's so much co-occurring in this phase of individuation. So those who are individuating are finding others who are on the same path, because when we release, when one door closes, another door opens. And so we're allowing room and space for new growth to take place. And when Uranus moves into Gemini, those connections are going to happen at a quantum level because it will be in harmonious aspects to Pluto and Aquarius, which Gemini and Aquarius are air signs. And so there's a lot of, activity and circulation of ideas and conversations. And then both Pluto and Uranus are going to be in a cooperative conversation, also known as a sextile to Aries, the energies in Aries, which are Saturn and Neptune. So this bigger picture, discipline and commitment to improving humanity as a whole. Like air feeds fire and fire creates, like it moves things faster. So experimentation can become instinctive, and try it and see what happens. Like this is the energy of fucking around and finding out, like trial and error. And there's no failure if you learn something from it. But this is a movement with meaning, with Neptune and Saturn in the mix. There's direction, there's accountability. And as Mars moves through Aries, which, Mars is the ruler of Aries, things will be getting real. When Mars meets up with Saturn, that's going to be this commitment to pursue what is in alignment with your soul, and things will start to lock in, commitments become visible, and there's this bigger picture. It's not personal, we're unlearning. This is a huge unlearning curve that we're all experiencing from centuries of conditioning, centuries of scarcity, overwork, extraction. And so that's not going to disappear overnight, but you can feel it. Something is shifting beneath the surface on a cellular level. So burn it down to rebuild. It is the Phoenix rising. These are not just cliches anymore. These are not just ideas. We're actually seeing this happen before our eyes. So clarity does require space from the noise, the comparison, the constant outward pull. And I feel like that CNN disclosure of the Academy is definitely a strategy, in my opinion, to pull us away from our center. Yes, it's maddening. And I just have more faith in the population, especially after the Epstein files. Like if there are people that still exist who truly believe that, ownership of their wives is valid, then the energies are configured in a way that those beliefs and people who are attached to those beliefs are going to fall away. And I think that's a signature of Mars passing through Neptune and Saturn as well. Mars being that, drive for, sexual urges, and Neptune going, like having that conversation with Mars. It's realigning that intention with a bigger picture, with a soul alignment, with the sacred divine dimensions. And then Saturn is discipline. Saturn is, like restriction. Like you're not doing that anymore. We're not doing that anymore. So there's a lot of falling away. So this is like a simultaneous ending of an era and the beginning of a new. And right now, the new is hard to really get a grip on because we've never been in this place before. So it's really up to us to envision that new earth and put those positive changes into place and disconnect from what we already know is dragging the rest of the world down. Like not feeding the pockets of those billionaires who are just continually trying to perpetuate and like keep this sinister system going. Like they're only operating on inertia at this moment, and it's up to us to pull the brake, like remove our attention, our energy. Like there's other options. We just have to look to one another for those options rather than for convenience. Grow food, grow vegetables, fruits, and trade with one another. Or if you have a skill, you can always cut someone's hair for, business card design. That's like so many possibilities. Just gotta rely on our creativity and have conversations with one another rather than like relying on the convenience of AI or the convenience of delivery or convenience of all these things that have, slowly set us up for making us think that they're, luxuries and they're going to improve our life. And maybe they have to some degree, but now we can like take those features and apply them to our own systems. So yeah, I hope that made sense. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, it's definitely a time to be aligned right now. And I mean, while all these planets are in Aries, it would be best used to like work up a sweat, like get these energies out of your system, whether it's through physical, like running or boxing, yoga, any kind of healthy outlet, art also, especially with Neptune in Aries. Neptune is all about creativity, like drawing that inspiration from above. So, and yeah, there's so many beautiful orchestrations that are in play right now. And, Jupiter in Cancer is also a cardinal sign. So Aries and Cancer are cardinal signs that want to take action, but they do it in different ways. Like Cancer does it in emotional, what would you call it? Emotionally inspiring ways. And Aries does it in like physical, like just doing it, just athleticism, like not thinking about it, like taking action without thinking. And Cancer does the same thing, but does it emotionally. There's more about emotional reaction. So with Jupiter and Cancer and all of the Aries energies, there can be this other third thing between the two that helps us pull the wisdom of Jupiter and Cancer, like taking it back to how we can support our lineage, like past lineages, future, like how we can heal both like the past and the future, like doing it for the children, the, kids that are being born right now are going to be some amazing starseeds, healers. So we can be confident in that and keep the faith. I think a big part of Jupiter and Cancer is keeping the faith in this square to all of the Aries energies. So hopefully that was helpful. And yeah, this is definitely a time to be self-aware of the energies that are affecting you personally. Like this, we can see it play out on a big scale on the world stage, but from macro to micro, there's going to be a level personally where this also affects us, and it will affect us differently depending on our chart configuration. So definitely reach out if you would like to have this superpower of awareness about your birth chart. Definitely would love to translate the skies for you and be there along your journey. Like I'm working on some longer term services so that we can prepare for what's to come over the next year, 2 years, or 5 years, however long is needed, because these changes are unfolding quickly. Like Neptune's going to be in Aries for 14 years, Pluto in Aquarius for 20 years, Uranus in Gemini for about 7 years. And so this next decade or so, like the next 2-3 years are going to be the years of the biggest change because it's all brand new. And so this is going to, affect our charts or affect our lifestyle very differently. So it's good to have this heads up so that we don't dwell on what is happening. Like we can actually move on and make decisions and have this confidence about these decisions. So definitely hit me up if that is something that you would like to do. And I would be honored to unfold your chart with you. So yeah, thank you so much for listening and sticking around. I wish all the best and all the new moon in Aries blessings. It is the astrological energetic new year. So happy new year. and hope to see you on the next one. Cheers.